All right, let's dive straight into this explainer. Today, we're tackling what is honestly the absolute biggest existential threat to your digital business, an e-commerce merchant account suspension. It's that horrible moment every online business owner dreads, waking up to find your cash flow has been completely frozen. So we're going to break down exactly why this happens, how you can actually survive it, and what you need to do to protect your revenue for the long haul. Here's our quick survival guide for today. We're going to define the merchant account nightmare, look at the terrifying match list, uncover the 4 main suspension triggers, outline a rapid triage plan, and finally, look at the high-risk provider solution. Let's get right into it. So, Section 1. The merchant account nightmare. A pretty devastating reality. Basically, a merchant account suspension is a temporary or sometimes even permanent ban on your ability to accept and process payments. And let's be super clear here, this isn't just a brief timeout. Because you're in e-commerce, this literally cuts off your business's lifeblood. It stalls your transactions instantly, creates massive customer service headaches with unfulfilled orders, and it really damages your hard-earned reputation. It usually starts with a temporary hold, where your funds are just delayed, but if those red flags keep piling up, it escalates to full account termination fast. Which brings us to Section 2, beware the match list. Truly a catastrophic fate. If a processor actually terminates your account due to compliance issues or high chargebacks, you're suddenly facing the match list. Now, when I was looking into this, I really had to ask myself, what exactly is this black box, right? And why does it absolutely terrify e-commerce veterans? Well, MATCH stands for Member Alert to Control High-Risk Merchants. It is literally a blacklist created by MasterCard, and virtually all the popular payment processors use it to identify and entirely avoid businesses with a history of things like fraud, poor compliance, or excessive chargebacks. Basically, when processors check this database, they are actively trying to dodge excessively risky partners. And get this, 5 years. That is how long you're stuck on there. 5 years is an absolute eternity in the fast-paced world of e-commerce. Landing on this list flags your business across the whole payment industry, making it incredibly challenging, if not outright impossible, to open a new merchant account anywhere else. It is effectively a half-decade death sentence for an online brand. No joke. Moving right along to Section 3, 4 reasons for suspension. Let's demystify these triggers. You see, processors are incredibly risk-averse. They will slam the brakes on your account if they spot any of these 4 primary triggers. They're constantly watching to see, do you have high chargebacks and fraud? Did you start selling high-risk products? Are you consistently violating compliance policies, like making unsubstantiated health claims? Or even, is there just a sudden, unexplained spike in your sales volume? Now, what I found truly shocking in the data is the threshold for those chargebacks. It's just 1%. 1%? Card networks like Visa and MasterCard will strictly penalize you if your customer disputes cross this microscopic 1% line of your total transactions. Breach that limit, and you're facing immediate penalties, steep fees, and almost inevitable suspension. You literally have zero margin for error here. And sometimes, unfortunately, your industry just makes you a target right out of the gate. I mean, you'd expect online gambling or firearms to be heavily scrutinized, sure, but it turns out even selling travel packages, health supplements, or running a standard subscription box puts you right into the high-risk category for standard banks. The digital-only nature of these spaces just makes them vulnerable to fraud. So you're perpetually walking a tightrope with traditional processors. All right, Section 4, your immediate survival plan. Time to execute some triage. Okay, so if the worst happens and you get that suspension notice, you cannot panic. Here is your step-by-step triage plan. First up, contact your processor right away and demand specific details. Was it a vague refund policy, a risky new marketing campaign? You need to know exactly what tripped the wire. Second, stop processing payments immediately. Whatever you do, do not try using shady workarounds to keep the money flowing. Trying to sneak transactions through looks highly suspicious, and it's going to fast-track you straight to that match list. And finally, secure your cash flow. Take a breather, temporarily suspend your order fulfillment until you assess the damage, and prep your customer service team for a massive influx of inquiries. Finally, Section 5, the high-risk provider solution, your permanent lifeline. So the core difference to understand here is structural. Standard processors usually rely on a single sponsor bank with incredibly rigid rules, which means they completely panic the second there's a sudden change in your volume or product types. But high-risk providers, they use multiple sponsor banks. They base their highly accurate risk evaluations on actual industry experience, and they structure your account specifically for long-term stability. Partnering with a specialized provider like Adaptiv Payments, for example, completely changes the game. Instead of constantly fighting with your processor, they connect you to multiple acquiring banks whose risk thresholds actually align with your specific business. And what I found really clever is how they use things like rolling reserves. They hold back just a tiny fraction of your funds to act as a safe buffer against chargebacks, so one sudden dispute doesn't just tank your whole operation. Plus, they give you specialized fraud management tools tailored perfectly for scaling high-risk e-commerce businesses in spaces like CBD, travel, and supplements. So this all brings us to the ultimate question you really have to ask yourself after reviewing this explainer. Is your e-commerce payment structure truly built to survive a sudden suspension? Or are you just one bad chargeback spike away from the match list? Don't wait for your cash flow to freeze before finding out. Evaluate your current payment partner today, because, let's be honest, in e-commerce, hope is simply not a financial strategy.